So, speaking veteran to veteran, it's no secret that veterans are a little unique. In fact, that's the reason that they coined the term veteran, because they realized that after military service, even though we might go back and live in the civilian world, we never become civilians again. After you've served in the military, after you've worn that uniform, you're never going to go back to the same version of yourself before you join the military. And there's some unique things about us, some unique traits that we pick up and characteristics that we pick up through military service that always make us a little bit different than those civilian counterparts that we rejoin the community of. And some of these differences are very powerful, and they actually help us be so successful or so well adapt at the jobs or the roles that we perform in the military. Whether it's the intense level of detail, the attention to detail that we have, the level of intensity that we meet the obstacles and challenges with, the level of intensity that we show up to work with every day. But these same traits that are true about veterans can also become some unique challenges, especially in our recovery journey. To better understand this, we got to talk about the traditional treatment or recovery model that is really focused on traditional psychology. So traditional psychology is really a pathology-based approach. Pathology just meaning the identification of things that are wrong and the trying to mitigate or trying to reduce the negative effects of something that is wrong. If you think of a hot air balloon, and imagine a hot air balloon and how high its altitude is representative of how well somebody is doing in their life, how well they're thriving, how well they're flourishing in their life. Well, if we want that person to do better, this would be indicative of a greater altitude for this hot air balloon. So if you want this hot air balloon to go higher, there's really two ways that you can approach this. One is that you can identify anything that's holding it down. Maybe there's still some sandbags trapped to the basket. Maybe there's some extra weight in the basket. And of course, if you were to get rid of some of those things or cut some of those sandbags, those weights, that would help the hot air balloon go higher into the sky. The other thing that you can do is that you can add some more hot air to it. You can inflate the balloon a little bit more, put some more lift in the balloon, and that also will help it go higher. So it's a silly analogy, but the reason that I share that is this is really the difference that I understand between a traditional psychological approach or a treatment-based approach to supporting somebody in the recovery and what would be referred to as a strengths-based or a positive psychology-based approach. So a traditional pathology-based approach is really trying to look at what are the things that are wrong with somebody. What are the defects? What are the symptoms? What are those things that are holding somebody back? Whereas a positive psychology or a strengths-based approach is recognizing and looking at what is going well in somebody's life. What are the good things about them, and how can we leverage that to get to a better place? One of the reasons I believe veterans continue to struggle, and so many veterans are suffering the way that they do, is because there is a fundamental difference between systems and programs that are designed to help somebody who has never had a strong foundation for confidence, for self-worth, for engagement, for a sense of meaning, and working with a population like veterans that had that at one time in their life and then went through a transition and lost it. If you're working with the veteran population, really the focus, I believe, should be on helping reconnect that veteran with the person that they used to be or they knew themselves to be. Reconnecting them with the self-worth, with the confidence, with the skills, with the innate strengths that they have so that they can remember and they can leverage all of these things to increase the elevation on that hot air balloon. And one of the reasons this is true is because this comes back to the nature of veterans. Some of the traits or the characteristics that are really developed and refined in us through military service. Veterans are very adept at identifying threats and trying to mitigate threats. This is something that's ingrained in us no matter what your job was in the service. There's some trait in us that's developed to help us identify threats, to mitigate those threats. Well, when you take this trait or this characteristic and this skill set that we develop and you apply it in a pathology-based model, we use this trait in us to identify things that are wrong with us or in our life. And we have this skill set to be able to get very granular and very adept at identifying all the things that are wrong with us. The challenge is if you're only focusing on the things that are wrong with you and trying to mitigate those things, this is a very slow and a not productive path to furthering your recovery journey or getting to a better place in your life. But it's the same trait, it's the same tendency for veterans to be hyper-focused on identifying things and using this attention to detail and this level of intensity. It makes a strength-based approach, one that is focused on what's right in us, what's good about us, what strengths do we have, what are some things that are true about us that maybe we've forgotten. If we can leverage a strengths-based approach, this is something that is much more productive for the veteran population because, again, if we're so adept at identifying things and using our attention to detail to spot things and to either hold on to defects or remember and identify truths about us that are strong, the strengths that we have, the traits that we have, the positive things about us, if we can shift that mindset or shift that focus of our awareness and our attention back to things that are true and good about us, then this is a journey that can really accelerate our progress and our growth in our recovery journey. And again, this is only because there is something different about the veteran population than the general population, for which most of the programs and support groups and the different treatment models were designed for. Because veterans once had a strong sense of self-worth, a strong sense of confidence. They were recognizing of the strengths that they had. They were given opportunities to engage in those strengths. And then through a transition or through trauma or through some shift in their life, when a veteran gets to that place where they're really struggling with substances or really struggling with behaviors in order to fill that internal void, it's not a void that's there because they never had a sense of self-esteem or self-worth. It's a void that's there because they had something and lost it. So because of that, this pathway, using a strengths-based approach and really focusing on reconnecting with, remembering some of the true things about us, this is a very fast or a very effective pathway to help veterans get further and faster in their recovery journey.